cannot achieve success without the risk of failure. And I learned a long time ago, you cannot achieve success if you fear failure. If you're not afraid to fail, man, you have a chance to succeed. But you're never going to get there unless you risk it all the way. I'll risk failure. Sometimes half the fun is failing. Learning from your mistakes, waking up the next morning and saying, okay, watch out, here I come again. A little bit smarter, licking my wounds, and really not looking forward to getting my ass kicked the way I just did yesterday. So now I'm just a little more dangerous.
What is up, guys and gals? Welcome to Big Kid with Will Bryant. As always, I'm your host. I'm Will Bryant. And you can see we started off a little bit differently there this week. For those of you that do not recognize the voice, that is the voice of Paul Heyman. And to wrestling fans out there, that voice is a very familiar one, very important one too. But Paul Heyman was, or is, currently the advocate for the tribal chief Roman Reigns. But before that, he was more famously known for starting taking over and creating the wrestling promotion that ended up becoming known as Extreme Championship Wrestling, or ECW. That promotion folded and was eventually purchased by the WWE. And Paul Heyman, on and off again, but currently to this day still works for the company in one way or another. Definite success story. And that quote has always kind of stuck in my head from when I first heard it, and it's the last words that you hear in the documentary The Rise and Fall of ECW. And it's something I try to think about often to motivate myself, because as we all do, I have to deal with failure, in some way or another, quite often in my life, and we all have to deal it in certain ways. And I think on some level, a lot of us have a fear of failure, a natural fear of failure. But if you I think Paul Heyman here is trying to tell us if we can kind of get over that, it might make us unstoppable. Why am I saying all this stuff? Because today, as I kind of teased and touched upon last week's episode, I'm going to talk about my own personal epic failure. One of the biggest failures of my life. Probably the biggest failure of my career. My desired career in its young infancy, as it may be. Drinking coffee today. Got to work later on. Last week I talked about my desire to throw a party, because I've thrown a couple in the past, some kind of big ones, I guess. And I talked about the couple that I've thrown in my backyard. And you know what? Before I do a little quick recap of last week, how about I just give you guys a quick reminder to be sure to rate and review this show on Apple Podcasts. That really helps me out. Follow me if you're not at I'm Will Bryant on all platforms. That's Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, even Spotify. That's 3 words at I'm Will Bryant, Bryant, like Kobe. Now that that's out of the way, let's get back to it. Last week we talked I talked a little bit about some parties that I threw in the past, and I was just gonna do a brief little recap of what went through, or what I went through to throw those, and how that led to the big one, I guess, the big shitty one, the big failure one. It all kind of started with what I talked about last week. VibeFest, the original one. Technically, the name that I just came up with on a whim. It doesn't really mean anything to me. I don't know why I chose it. I just did. The name is It's a Vibe Fest. You know, just like how everyone says it's a vibe, blah blah blah. I sometimes stylize it by putting it's a ... or ellipses in parentheses, and then just have Vibe Fest be the main thing. Either way, a little bit more info about It's a Vibe Fest. The first one, that was the first big, kind of big party I threw in the backyard. That was on September 26th, 2020. So almost a full 3 years ago now. And that party went from 4 p.m. to I want to say to 4 a.m., I think, actually. Yeah, because at one point, one of my like taglines was 9 DJs, 12 hours. Kind of nuts. So yeah, it was me just wanting to throw a party in the backyard. And I told you guys that I kind of I had a... DJing is one of those professions or just things that when you do, a number of people in your circle suddenly mention for the first time how they've always wanted to try their hand at doing it as well. The moment that I started like actually seriously trying to DJ, like buying the equipment, learning, you know, self-taught, but still learning, you know, what to do, what gear to buy and all that stuff. Investing in it and not just money, but time to actually like learn the craft. The moment I did that, little by little, more and more of my friends would be like, oh, you know, I always kind of wanted to do that, you know? And of course, the moment that they see me doing it live somewhere, whether it's just at home or at one of our own parties or whatever, because it's me DJing and not some professional DJ that they pay tickets to go see, inevitably, they will all come behind the pseudo booth or table, and at least one or two will just start touching shit. It always happens. Everybody, once the equipment is in the group of friends, in the circle of friends, you'll just see everyone start to say, you know what, I've always wanted to, you know, I've always thought I could. I have a feeling from being around so many comedians now at work at the Comedy Cellar that comedy or stand-up comedy is a similar craft where if you dedicate yourself to it, you will have a plethora of friends in your circle that will tell you, you know, I've always thought that I could be good at it. You know, I always should have tried. I always wanted to try. And it you know, it'll just start happening. So, you know, of course, it's two things I want to do. Here's the thing. For the most part, I actually don't mind it when my friends come up to me wanting to learn how to DJ. Definitely mind it if they start just randomly touching shit without even freaking asking me. I will let my friends touch and play with it, even mid-show, you know, if it's just like in the backyard or whatever, or mid-set, I should say. But just coming up and touching my buttons. Yeah, who in the world would like that? Jay. Huh? Talking about you. So I just started realizing that in my own circle of friends, I had, you know, at least 4 and I would come to find out even more, that wanted to, try out DJing in some way or another. Now, of course, they don't have the gear and they don't, really have the time to learn it to a certain degree, so they're not going to be able to, book a gig at a club or something like that to really get the experience of DJing. So I had the idea of using the backyard we have to give them and myself a kind of platform to actually DJ, to DJ on a stage or whatever for a group of people at an actual party. And that's what I did. So I trained my friends in a little crash course a couple of nights. They came over. I set up my gear in the basement, and we all, everyone had a chance at it. And it was fun times back then where we were teaching everyone back in 2020. And I trained a couple of my friends, and the ones that stepped up and actually said, yeah, I would like to do this were Monica, Teddy, Kat, Val, and Lenny. You will remember Teddy and Lenny as those two people that for some reason have nicknames for actual government names. Still, even back then in 2020. You will notice that Monica is a full name. Kat is short, but not legally her name. It's short for Catherine. And Val also not legally her name. Also short for something else. Like normal people. Lenny and Teddy. Like normal people. Anyways, these 5 friends, 5 teenagers with attitude, were volunteered to learn and actually do it. And the way I kind of sold it to them was like, look, it's going to be mostly us. So what better way to put on your first set than in a backyard with all your friends where there's like very little pressure to if you mess up, if you fuck up, it's just us. Who gives a damn? We each invited like some other people, so it ended up being more than just us at the party, but it was all friends of friends. It was kind of like a friends and family event where if anything went wrong, who cares? It's just us partying in our backyard. So it was right there. You have, including myself, that's like 6 DJs. And I actually then hit up. I was like, you know what? I feel like I could get a little bit more. Let's make this feel just a tad official. And so I thought the way I can do that is to reach outside of my group of friends, outside of my circle of friends, for talent. I jokingly, but also not really a joke, it's the truth, would tell my friends like, oh, I also booked some real DJs out besides you guys. I was like, this is the real talent. Move aside. I said it lovingly, but I did get some people that actually had their own gear, practice the craft, know what they're doing. But also people that I've already known. So I got these 2 people, Cisco and Envy, or Cisco and DJ Envy are their stage names. And I actually, when I went back to school for music production at Queensborough Community College, these 2 were 2 individuals that I had some classes with, and we all, we had the similar interests in like types of music, and we all, were DJs that were in school for music production. So a lot of similarities, and always got a good vibe from them. And so I kept them in my head in case I ever wanted to do anything. When I went back to school, I really looked at everything as not just me picking up knowledge at these classes, but also networking with classmates and even teachers at points too, I mean, shit, I was closer in age to the teachers than I was some of my classmates, When I went back to school, I was like 30. So I always took it as like a networking opportunity to remember like who I saw potential in, you know, who I saw had a good work ethic in, you know. It's not only just like, oh, I'm going to remember this dude and this chick because they DJ and I'm going to need them for a show later on. But like, no, I remember people that were just had good work ethic and understood how to, you know, work on some gear or work on some sound or whatever, you know, and so I always have people in mind to this day for future events that I might want to do. So I remembered about Cisco and Envy, and they were both down to just throw a set in the backyard, and they each invited some of their friends. And then I had one more DJ in mind outside of my immediate circle of friends, and that's Adam, aka Toxic, who is my boy Keith Classic's cousin. Keith Classic's cousin. His younger cousin, who I met or knew from back when me and Keith first met in Stony Brook. So I had known Adam for a couple of years now, and he had been DJing for a couple of years too, and similar interests in music, similar styles, and just awesome dude. Love Adam with all my heart. So I was like, yeah, I reached out to him. He was down, came in all the way from Long Island. He invited a couple of friends. So suddenly I had 9 DJs, including myself, committed to come into my backyard. Well, it wasn't my backyard yet, but it would eventually be our backyard for a one night, all day, or one day, all 12-hour rager kind of thing. And it was pretty awesome. It went off really well. The vibe, it was a vibe. No pun intended. It was a good vibe because it was like most people were friends, and the only strangers there were somebody else's friends. So everyone was really, you know, mingling and getting along, and it was a really just fun, chill environment that quite literally went from 4. Teddy was late, so it probably started around closer to 4:30, but legitimately went all until 4 in the morning, if I remember correctly. It was a great time. I looked up I actually make like promotional posters or flyers for all the events that I've thrown. I mess around on Photoshop and I put out like these promotional pieces. And so I did one for It's a VibeFest, and I found it going through my Instagram. And I remember this is what I was talking about when I said later on Monica would frame this and give it to us as like a Christmas present. It was really cool because everyone thought it was really cool to just see their name on an actual flyer for the first time, you know. And this is the set list. I thought or not the set list, the set times. I thought it'd be nice or fun to like go over this. I'll put these pictures up, I guess, on my Instagram again. Together just so you guys could see all these promotional flyers again. But at 4 p.m. we had OSO. That was Teddy's DJ name. After him, 5 p.m. Monica Meows. That was her stage name. 6 p.m. A181 was Lenny's name at the time. I don't know if it's still his name. Then I had the 3-hour block of actual DJs from 7 at 7 o'clock. Cisco came on. 8 was DJ Envy. 9 was Toxic. 10 was our friend Kat, whose name was Juicy Ninja, which I actually think is a great name. 11, the co-headliner of the night, my girlfriend Val, who went by her pre-government name Valeria Alexander. Then at midnight was I put myself as Will Bryant, and then it says 1:30 a.m., but it was probably closer to 2 that I just had anyone go up, do a little back-to-back session if they wanted to or anything like that. Saturday, September 26th. It says here, private outdoor venue in residence, Bushwick, DM for details. Good times. Like I said, went off really well. The only one thing was weird. During my set, which, you know, was a little bit after midnight, I had my set was going, everyone was having a great time, and this girl who I had never met before, I guess she had her music in her little card or you know, her little drive, and she wanted to spin, and she wanted to spin during my set. I don't think she had any idea that not only was I'm obviously DJing in the middle of a set, I don't think she had any idea that I was the one that organized the entire thing. And that essentially she was at my place. I was sleeping over there all the time at that time anyways, and was pretty much in charge of it during this party. I remember actually going up to, I was very cordial with everyone. I take hosting a party pretty like seriously. So I will be like, I'll go around and I'll be like, hey, what's going on? I'm Will, blah, blah. I remember going up to this chick before my set, like someone else was up. And I introduced myself. I was like, hey, I'm Will. How you doing? And she gave me the coldest shoulder ever. I don't know if she thought like maybe I was hitting on her and she wanted like nothing to do with it. That obviously wasn't the case. My girl is I'm throwing this party with my girl. I'm not going to fucking hit on a girl that's at a party that I'm throwing with my girl. So she didn't pay me any mind, barely interacted with me. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever. Later on, I'm up there in the middle of my set that I prepared specifically for this party, for this event, for this, closing set or whatever. And she comes up like behind the booth and starts saying how she wants to spin. And I'm like, I'm in the middle of my set. Like you're not spinning right now. Like get out of here. And she, I don't think she ever really noticed until I told her. I was like, look, you're at my party, at my place. This is my equipment. It's my set. And you're trying to kick me off. Like, what are you talking about? Get out of here. I'm finishing. And after me, I had told Lenny, because he did such a dope job with his set, which was earlier on, which had about like maybe 20 people, in the backyard watching. Now, by the time that I was up, there was a good 40 people there, probably, at least. Maybe 50, but probably 40 people. And Lenny had done such a great job that I told him that, like, dude, once I'm done with my set, I want you to go on again and, like, just do whatever you want, 'cause now that there's a bigger audience. So after me, I knew that, like, I decided, like, on the fly that Lenny was going to go, but this chick is trying to kick me off in the middle of I'm not even done, girl. And after me, I'm going to give my boy a chance to shine again. I don't know you. Get out of here. Never saw her again. Never met her again. Apparently, she's a DJ. Like, she's a legit DJ that has done other things. That's done some better venues in my backyard for sure. And she's definitely more successful at DJing than I ever have been. There's just a way to go about it. And trying to kick a DJ off in the middle of his set is probably number one on the list of ways of how to not go about it. I'm just guessing that's not very good DJ etiquette. So she had to be put in her place. And I was like, no, back off. You're not spinning. That was literally the only hiccup of that night. Great party. And then that led to everyone wanting another, event like that. And we got it going a little bit less than a year later. And I organized something called No Request Fest. And that was on May 22nd the following year, 2021. And this one would end up going from like 4 to 2 a.m. 9 DJs, 10 hours, not the 12 hours I did before. Getting a little bit more responsible here, if you can see. And same thing, I retrained. Another crash course for my friends. This time it was Mon, Teddy, Val, and Lenny doing it again. And I had met these other DJs at a rooftop party in Bushwick like a month prior. These guys, Bendito was spinning, and Mas Corazon was his boy who was in the crowd, who I started talking to, who also is a DJ. And they were great dudes, and we all exchanged information. I told them that I had a party I was throwing in my backyard. I showed them my flyer for It's a VibeFest 1, where it looked pretty legit with a bunch of like set times and a bunch of DJ names. And they're like, oh, you made this flyer? You threw this party? I'm like, yeah. They're like, where's the location? I'm like, it's in my backyard. Like, it's the location's set, no problems, whatever. They're like, where do you have like a spot? So it was just a lot of just cool, convenient shit that I presented to them right away, Look, I organize it. I can promote it. I have a quote unquote venue or a space for it, you know. So it's you know, you tell that to a DJ that just likes spinning, it's like oftentimes a no brainer, you know. I so there you go. I instantly booked like 2 DJs at a party. I already had 4 in my friends, and then I was another one. So that's what, 4, 5, 6. That's 7 DJs, I think, right there. They introduced me to this other DJ called Vibration. I believe I met him the day of the party, but they both vouched for him. So I was like, all right, cool, no problems. And they were all 3 very similar styled like DJs and also similar personalities, I felt like, and it was really cool. It was a great time. That time it was actually nine of us, 9 DJs, 10 hours. I'm looking up the flyer for this one now. As I said, it was called No Request Fest. I didn't call it VibeFest because VibeFest was in September. This one was in May, and I figured I would probably throw another party that year anyways. Ended up not, but probably because of this one. So No Request Fest, as I said, was May 22nd. And instead of the flyer for this one, instead of specifically listing set times, I just put everyone's name in like the order that they would probably be in, but didn't specify set times. This I kind of learned from my mistake last time. You never know if someone's gonna start late or show up late, Teddy, or what's gonna happen. It's out of your control. So I didn't really want to be cemented into set times for each artist in case something did happen. So I didn't list set times publicly, although I did have a set time or a set list like that in my notes that I gave all the talent that day. So this one in order, it's Oso, Monica Meows, Valeria Alexander, A181, which is Lenny. Then it's Mas Corazon, Vibration, and Bendito. Those are the 3 guys that I met through the rooftop party. And then, because I enjoyed, or a lot of people enjoyed Cisco's set from the first Fest. It's a Vibe Fest back from the prior September. I invited him to come back, and he was like kind of my co-headliner with me, who I ended up closing out the show. And by this time, what was cool is I actually had already commissioned a buddy of mine, Rick Gray, to design a logo for me, with a specific font and all. So, and Cisco also had his own stylized font logo. So it looked even more legit than my last flyer, because at the kind of top, it's Will Bryant and Cisco the Freak, both with legit logos. And then underneath, it's just this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 supporting acts to lead up to those 2 co-headliners. It looked really. I'm very happy with the way. To this day, very happy with the way that this flyer turned out. Private outdoor venue in residence, Bushwick, DM for details. Again, I'll put this picture up with my other flyer and my next one, so you guys can see what I'm talking about. That was the party that I said got kind of out of hand, because now we had even more people bringing in their friends. Cisco brought his friends. All my friends were there, and Bendito brought his friends. Mas Corazon brought his, and Vibration brought theirs. So it was a lot of different people. I still really enjoyed the vibe there. Mostly good people. I don't know who went up to the roof. That did suck, but I told you guys last week, people went up to the roof when they shouldn't have, left a lot of garbage there. And besides that, whoever threw up in the hallway that night and didn't tell anybody anything and let me and my girl get yelled at for it the next morning, that does suck too. But besides that, everything else is pretty cool. That was a great time. Packed. Probably the best party I've ever thrown, though. Even with the neighbor coming down and yelling at us, even with us having to go upstairs and clean garbage from the roof and having to clean vomit from the hallway the next morning, still probably the best party I've thrown. That one, I told you last week, I thought there was like maybe 50 to 60 people there, but I have other friends that have told me that they counted 100 at one point. I don't know. I was not exactly sober for that party at all. And somehow I thought still did a pretty good job, running everything. And it can be a little hectic when you're the one in charge. I mean, like, if you've ever thrown a party, you guys know that even if it's just a get together at your house with your friends, it can get a little frustrating or annoying when everyone is just asking you about everything. You're like the point of contact for everything. Whether it's like, hey, where's the glasses? Where's the food? Where can I grab? Where can I grab this? Should we get that? Well, what's the address here? Blah blah. Every question, like you're the point of contact, And when you're not just throwing a get together for your friends, it's all these other people you've never met. I knew about 25% of the people that were in my backyard that night. I met so many people and forgot so many names from that night. So when you're the point of contact for everybody, oh, how do you get here? What do you do this? And then on top of that, I'm throwing a 10-hour music festival with 9 DJs that I have to like be on top of in terms of scheduling and getting them up to the stage for their set, and then making sure that the next DJ is ready to go, and communicating between all of them, and it's a lot. And somehow, even though I was very inebriated throughout that entire night, not sober at all, it went off almost without a hitch. It's really just the garbage on the roof and the vomit in the hallway. That was really it. So at this point, I was feeling pretty good about my ability to put together a party. I was realizing I was very much enjoying the almost the being the producer of the event more so than like DJing the set, and I really enjoyed curating the entire event. A reason I wanted to learn how to DJ is I'm that kind of guy that just loves controlling the music that we're listening to. When we're in a car, I love having the aux, I loved it before I ever was a DJ. I liked being the guy that controlled the music. Sometimes I just get annoyed when someone else is making me listen to their music. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn how to fucking DJ so I can just always choose what goddamn songs I want to listen to. And this was like that, but on another level. Not only am I choosing what songs I want to listen to I ended up going on for like 2 hours that night. I'm going to choose what everyone listens to for the entire day, because I'm going to reach out to the DJs that I want to play here. And then I'm going to put them in the order that I think would work best. Like, perhaps it's the control freak in me, I don't know, but I really enjoyed that aspect of throwing the party, the actual production of putting together the event and curating what kind of DJs or what order I would want them to go in. A lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, I still have fun doing the actual DJ set myself, but I have thought about, if I ever do it again, to not make myself the last person so that I could kind of focus on others more. See, I do things at these parties where I remember at No Request Fest specifically, I had bought these like posters, big posters that I taped in front of the DJ table. And for each poster, I wrote in large marker, I wrote the DJ's name. So every time that someone went up for their set at No Request Fest, there was a large poster in front of you with your name on it. So whoever was in attendance at that party, whoever was taking a picture of you, whoever was taking a video of you while you were spinning that set, it said clear as day, so they know beyond a shadow of doubt the name of the person spinning. I was basically trying to promote anybody that was spinning at my event. I wanted to give them something they could look back on and show people content, if you will. Like, oh shit, yeah, like I gave them, there was a fog machine. There was, I had lights, like these lasers towards the end of the night, or a light machine towards the end of the night when it got dark and you could actually see it. And everyone had their name. And I was filming for everybody, like there's these cool videos where I would film everyone during their set. I wanted all the DJs that did me the favor of spinning for my event, I wanted them to go away feeling like that was worth it. You know, I didn't pay anybody. This was all free. I didn't charge anyone for admission. I didn't pay anyone to spin. It was all just us coming together to put on a fun party. And I wanted to make sure that whoever did spin had a good time and didn't regret doing it. You know, my friends that are not actual DJs that spin, they have dope pictures of and videos of themselves where it looks like they're fucking a seasoned veteran because they're spinning with fog rising up in the background or in front of them, and there's a crowd of people dancing and shit. It looks dope. And for my, you know, DJ friends that came in and actually, you know, do DJ outside of a backyard, I think it was pretty cool for them to see that it wasn't just this, you know, it wasn't just someone setting up a table and not really giving a damn about the presentation. I did. I wanted whoever, I bought a backdrop on eBay to hang behind them, so it looked like you were on a stage. Basically, the pictures of it looks dope. Look dope. So that was No Request Fest in May, and I didn't end up throwing a party for the rest of that year because even though it was a lot of fun, it did feel like we pushed it a little bit and that we had to take a little bit of a break. We threw more like regular just like barbecues with me and my friends, and sometimes I'd break out the DJ gear, but no set times, no flyers, no nothing like that. It would just be like us 12 and me and Lenny spinning or something. Then all that is just to lay the groundwork for what would lead to my most colossal of failures. Because I wouldn't have gotten to that point if I hadn't thrown some successful parties in the past to make me think that I was capable of doing it again. It all kind of started with me going viral on Instagram in 2022, last year. For those of you that perhaps didn't hear that episode, or the episode where I kind of briefly touched on that, or for those that just don't know, I did go viral, very viral on Instagram last year, and it was all for just a silly, cute 7-second video of a cat that I took care of in my backyard. That's it. If you go back far enough in my Instagram history, you'll see there's a cat video that, I kid you not, last I checked, I think was at a 103 million views. 103 million views. It has like over 7 million likes. 103 million views. And in 1 week, my followers went from, I already had like 2,200 followers. Not, nothing great, but, not too shabby. Not terrible. Because I was doing stuff before. I did put out content before. I grew from like, 200 to 2,200. But then this cat video, in 1 week, took me from 2,200 to 22.3 thousand followers in 1 week. Since then, I've lost more followers than I ever had before. I now have 19.6 thousand followers, and I think it's one, it's I'm not as active as I should be. Something I'm trying desperately to get better at, to motivate myself, I should say, to get better at. But also, I just think that there's a lot of people that followed me thinking I was a cat meme page or something, and realized, oh, he's like just a guy that podcasts. Fuck him. So they unfollow, and 3,000 people later, I'm down to like 19.6. Still. So in 1 week, I shoot up to 22,000 followers. And during that week, where my followers went up and up, someone that I knew through an old job, he was like, we never actually technically worked together, but my coworkers overlapped with people that he used to work with before he had left. And I'd known him. I had actually been to some parties that he threw, and he slid into my DMs because he had since started a after hours kind of collective party around here in the Brooklyn area known as Radio Face. They were putting together these after hours parties that would start. They wouldn't get started till like 3 or 4 in the morning, and they'd go on till 10, 11, 12 o'clock in the afternoon sometimes. And they would, very guerrilla style, very underground, but pretty cool. And he reached out to me. I mean, obviously because we were Instagram friends, and he saw, oh shit, Will has, 10,000 followers. He has 12,000 followers. He has 16,000 followers. And on my Instagram, it doesn't say, proud cat dad. It said, bartender and DJ. And he reached out and he was like, hey, Will, long time no speak. Do you still DJ by any chance? And immediately I knew, like, this isn't coincidental. He's reaching out to see if when you see that you're friends with someone on Instagram that DJs and has 20,000 followers, and you're trying to get an after hours party or group going, it makes sense. Hey, let me reach out. I wouldn't call him like a friend, but we're acquaintances, Always thought he was a cool dude, still do. He reached out, asked if I was still DJing. I said absolutely. And he said that he had this desire to extend his one of his parties so that it wouldn't just be an after hours. He would like to start the event at 11 and lead into his after hours. So the idea was that I would be in charge of throwing a party from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. And then same venue, same location, everything. I would then just hand the reins over to him and Radio Face, and the after hours event continues from 3 a.m. to whenever. It was Radio Face's attempt at not just being an after hours party group, but or promotional group, I should say, but being an all night and all day thing completely, I didn't go out of my way to say, hey, by the way, these 20,000 followers I have, mostly because of a cat video. I don't know if he knew, but I wasn't going to be the one to clarify that. I kind of thought with a hustler mentality here, I was like, hey, he's obviously reaching out because of my followers. I'm not going to blow this opportunity. Let me do what I can, see what I can do. I felt confident that I can throw a good party and that I could get enough talent to do it. I just, needed a good venue, and I had seen this venue that he was talking about. And I told you guys last week it was this skate park. And I did recon. I checked out one of the after hours parties prior. And the DJ was set up right in the middle of the skate park, or the half pipe right in the middle of it. And I thought it was dope. And I was like, yeah, this could work. I could definitely do some damage with this. And it was on. I had complete control over like what it was called. What to name it, how to promote it. It was all on me. And because it's a VibeFest was the first one I threw, and because it was this next one was also going to be, I actually even chose the date for it. I said, how about we do it September 2nd? Because that weekend is Izu, and if you want to throw an after hours party, we could try to get some people that are getting out of Izu and don't have tickets to some high-end place after Izu, they could come here. And he was like, that's perfect. So I even chose the date, September 2nd, 2022. And I named it It's a VibeFest 2. Now, I had It's a VibeFest as the title on the flyer, and then I just used the emoji with the peace sign to put right next to the title, because I didn't really want to make it obvious that this is a number 2, because I didn't want the guys at Radio Face to think that like this is a continuation of something that they had nothing to do with. But technically, it was the second one, so I made it like a little inside joke there. So if you look at the flyer, it looks like it says It's a VibeFest piece, but it's a VibeFest 2. And that was just a little homage to my friends that I threw the first one with the idea that if this went well, then maybe there would be a VibeFest 3 down the line, and that this could be my thing. So I had 4 hours to fill, 11 to 3. Initially, I thought it was 11 to 4, but like the week of, I was told, no, you have till 3. So fine, whatever. Cut everyone's set just a little bit short, but we worked with it, or at least we tried. I had to get DJs for this event, and for this one, I love my friends with all my heart, but this was an event that we were trying to sell tickets to. This is the first event that I was not throwing for free. I was trying to sell tickets. The way that they were doing it is kind of typical for like up and coming DJs. You sell tickets online with your own little like promo code, and the DJs get paid off of how many tickets they sell with their promo code, essentially. So I had to choose people that I thought would help me promote this event, so that it wasn't all on me. But I also, I had to get good, talented DJs. So I didn't reach out to my friends that I had, taught to DJ for VibeFest 1 and for No Request Fest for 2 reasons. One, I didn't want to put, for lack of a better term, love you guys, I didn't want to put an amateur DJ up there. I don't consider myself a professional DJ, but I do at least have equipment that I use and have practiced with in the past, and I didn't want to put anyone up there that the only time they DJ is when I let them use my equipment once a year. It's, this is my first legitimate event that I'm throwing to try to, establish as a financial thing. I got to put in people that know what they're doing. My friend Lenny, I thought was definitely good enough and talented enough to be on this. The only reason that I really didn't put him on was because me and him are in the same circle of friends. So whoever I would get to come see me would be the same people that would come to see him. There's maybe a handful of people that would come for each of us that would not be like in the circle, the same group of friends. Looking back at it, and you'll see why, I feel like maybe I should have just said fuck it and put him on. The first DJ I reached out to was my friend Tony, who he's in the Fantasy Football League with me, and he's been on this show when we used to be a Fantasy Football League podcast. I've known him since high school, went to high school with him, went to college with him, still friends to this day. And he was the first person I reached out to about spinning. I trusted him, and I figured the first person I get to help me out with this should be someone I trust, so I could like reach out and talk to him and shit throughout the entire process. So and he was in from day one. I then reached out to Cisco, because Cisco did It's a VibeFest 1 and he did No Request Fest. Both times he came, he's like the Terminator, dude. He comes in for his mission and is just efficient. Boom, comes in, gets out, does it. never an issue, never, always shows up on time, always just knows what to do, is ready and prepared, and very focused. Like, he's just easy to work with day of. So I knew, like, and he's great. He's a great DJ. So I just knew, I was like, all right, if he's in, I have me and him, that's like a good foundation to build around. And Tony's he has a different style. He's more hip hop, whereas I'm more electronic, and as is Cisco. So I knew that with Tony, I had a great early DJ to get people in a mood in general, and then we would move it to more electronic. At the time, I was working at the Diddy, and one of the DJs that would be there a couple of times a month, his DJ name was Chambray all day. His real name is Chris. He's one of the nicest guys that you'll ever meet. I always loved working when he was spinning because he's a great DJ, great song choice, knows how to get a crowd moving all the time. I did that thing that I do once an episode where I just realized I didn't plug in my phone to charge it. So give me 1 second. I can edit this out. Am I going to? We good? Yeah. So yeah, Chris, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. In fact, most of my friends had met him before that VibeFest too, when they would visit me at the Diddy, and they definitely had great times while he was spinning. They would be chilling with him on the DJ side. Just super nice. He actually reached out to me and said that he would be down to do this event. So I didn't even have to ask him. He asked me, which, as a promoter, as someone that's putting together a party for a DJ that you like and respect, whose music you enjoy, to reach out to you and ask you if he could spin, that's great. So there you go. I had myself, I had Cisco, I had Tony, and I had Chris. I felt like that was solid. Honestly, I could have gone with just that. But I remembered No Request Fest and how fun that was and how packed my backyard was. So I reached out to Bendito, who's that DJ that I met at that Bushwick rooftop party. And he was down to do it, but the weekend prior to Labor Day, he was flying out to Europe for a little tour that he had set up for himself out there. So props to him. I was like, damn, if there's ever a reason to not do my event, that's definitely it. Goodbye, good luck, bro. Like, no ill will towards you. Like, I hope you fucking kill it out there in Europe. And knowing him, he probably did. And I remember asking him, I was like, all right, what about, I'll reach out to Mas Corazon then. I remember really liking his set, really liking his vibe. And Bendito tells me, oh, he doesn't live in New York anymore. And I'm like, son of a bitch. And he goes, but Vivation's still local. He's still around. And I was like, all right. The only reason why Vivation, I didn't reach out to him initially was because I had only met him that time at my party, like day of. So I knew Bendito and Mas Corazon. I'd spent more time talking to them, getting to know them at that rooftop party. So I felt like I just felt like there's a little bit of a stronger connection between me and them than me and Vivation. But I was like, all right, cool. I'll reach out to him, and he was down. And he was down. It was easy. Slid into his DMs. He was in. And I had now, 5 DJs, I guess? I had Tony, Vivation, Chambray, Cisco, and myself. 5 DJs to do 4 hours. I thought we could do that no problem. And that I had reached out to enough different people that we could probably put together a nice sized group to put on this party. I came up with I told you the name, the date, and I got to work on the promotional flyer pretty quickly. Again, it was all on me. They reached out from Radio Face to see if I was down, but it's not like they were taking over promotion they would share my things, they would repost my things, but if I didn't give them anything, if I didn't come up with anything, there would have been nothing. Now this is not a knock on them at all. I think it should be. I had no problem with it. I think it should be that way, I guess. And hell, it gave me complete control over the look and the feel of the poster and the promotional, goods in general. So I was fine with it. It's a lot of work, but I didn't mind it. Like, I don't know. I spent probably hours working on the flyer, and it took a lot of time. But like, if you would have like hooked up these wires to my brain while I was putting that flyer together, it probably was like lighting up like Christmas, because I enjoyed doing that even just to promote my event. And I'm looking at it right now, and it says VibeFest with the emoji peace sign. And right underneath it said an unofficial Izu after party. I made sure to throw in unofficial there because I didn't want to get sued for anything. And there's Will Bryant and Cisco. There's the two logos. Cisco had a new logo by then and made sure to incorporate that in. Then underneath, Vivation, Tony, and DJ Tony stands for Top of New York. And Chambray All Day. Tickets, $10. Half off with promo code WILL. And I gave everyone their own version of the flyer. Half off with promo code Cisco. Half off with promo code Vivation. Half off with promo code Tony. Half off with promo code All Day. Tickets go on sale now. Had the address, the date, Friday, September 2nd, and then after hours by Radio Face till 8 a.m. So I even promoted the after hours event by Radio Face. Again, I'll put this flyer up with all the other ones that you guys saw. And I gave everyone their own one, their own personalized one, so that they could promote and get people to come in. Like I said, our pay would depend on the tickets that were sold. I promoted it on Instagram every day until the day of the event. And I remember right after I finalized the flyer and the everything was good. The name, the date, the flyer, the lineup, everything. The day after I finalized it and I sent it to all the DJs, my co-headliner, Cisco, tells me that he can't promote the event at all. And I was like, what? He tells me that because he is spinning on a cruise, like not a cruise, but on one of those boats that go around like the Statue of Liberty and come back or something like that, like a 3-hour cruise or something like that. Those party cruises, party boats. He was an opening act for another larger DJ, better known DJ. I don't remember who it was. I'm not trying to just not use his name. I don't remember who it was. He was an opening act on this cruise, on this boat party. They actually had him sign a contract that said that he was not allowed to spin another event a week before this party boat and a week after. And he was spinning on this boat the week prior to VibeFest 2. So he agreed to spin my event, but couldn't promote it under fear of being in violation of his contract. I was like, well, damn. To him, I said, all right, fine. We'll work around it. And you can still spin if you can't promote it, whatever, all good. But I internally toyed with the notion of just telling him thank you, but no thank you then. Perhaps I'll use you on the next one. Because for me, what the hell was the point? What's the point of someone co-headlining an event with me where our pay is based on tickets sold, and you are now telling me you cannot sell a single ticket? That's the person I chose to co-headline this event with. That was a shot to the solar plexus right there. I was suddenly beginning to realize, these are the things that can go wrong when you're curating an actual event. So I was beginning to realize there are going to be issues that you're going to run into trying to put together a little event like this. This must be what Ja Rule felt like trying to put together VibeFest. So yeah, my co-headliner tells me the day after I finalize the flyer and start and give it out to everyone and put it out, they can't promote the event at all. I'm like, fuck. Decide to just deal with it and not get rid of them. I could have, and 4 DJs for 4 hours would have been perfectly fine. I kind of didn't want to be an asshole, and I thought to myself, if I do goodbye and good luck him at this point, and I do another event, will he be bitter and not want to work with me again? And even though I was a little miffed at the fact that he wasn't going to be able to promote my event, it wasn't like he was choosing not to. Dude literally had a contract that he signed. So I was somewhat understanding of that, and I guess I was playing the long game here. So hopefully, yeah, if I ever do something again, maybe the bridge isn't burned. That was my thinking. Now, in preparing for this event, trust me, I was nervous. I had a lot of anxiety. If you haven't noticed, I have anxiety pretty much doing anything in my life. But for like the month leading up to this event, I had a lot of anxiety because I was just thinking of everything that could go wrong. And I was very cognizant and worried that the issues that would arise would be out of my control, that it would be something. I was more terrified of something like logistically going wrong, like me forgetting a cable that I needed to hook something up to. Like, you know, if I ruined the night because I forgot to pack something, the checklist I made to make sure I had everything I needed before I left that day, I probably went over that 7 times. Man, I was getting ready hours before. I was so just scared that I was going to screw something up like that. Preparing my own set was kind of like the least of my worries. Although I kept worrying about the fact that I hadn't done it yet. And I kind of came up with my set maybe a week prior, or at least the songs that I was thinking of using. And I typically, if I'm putting on a set for a party, especially one of these sets or parties where I made myself the freaking headliner of my own party, I practice, or I prepare something beforehand. I try to play around with it at home so I could like mess around with song order and figure out some transitions. And for this, I wanted to really practice this set like for hours. And if I remember correctly, I practiced this set 1 time and it was not great. And I said, fuck it, I'll figure it out like night of. I did not feel very prepared in terms of my set, but that was, again, the least of my worries. I was worried about everything else. I was worried about the logistics, the gear malfunctioning, the cables missing something. So the night of the event, the night is here, September 2nd. I get to the venue, that skate park, probably around like 10 o'clock, even though we don't start till 11. I want to be there with enough time, with all my gear. And they had this dude that had kind of been their audio guy for the events that they had thrown prior. I remember seeing him spinning when I did Recon a month prior. Cool dude. I believe his name is Latif Turl. Turl Made on Instagram. Turral, I feel like it is. He was there to set up, and I was there with my gear, and we set up my gear probably with a good half hour to go. We were going to start at 11, and it was going to be, Chambray asked if he could go first, and I said no problem. DJ Tony was going to go up second, Vivation third, Cisco fourth, and me closing it out. I was supposed to go on at 2 a.m. and close it out at 3 and pass it on over to Radio Face to take over from 3 to 8 a.m. My friends started arriving, before 11. A lot of them wanted to be there right for the start of it. So I was happy to see that. I was happy with the amount of friends that I had that I ended up buying tickets and coming through. That was cool. I had some friends that were arriving there, and at about 10:50 p.m., 10 minutes to go till showtime, till the first set. Chris, Chambray's there. He has some friends that are there to see him spin. He's ready to go. Things are looking good. Gear's all set up. People are there. There's even a bar that's ready to go. Things are looking good. 10:50 p.m. Suddenly, the loudest, most blaring siren that you can imagine starts going off. Bop, 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 bop. Coupled with the most obnoxiously blinding flashes of light going off at every fire alarm station in the skate park. The fire alarm goes off 10 minutes before showtime. Now, remember when I was telling you guys that I had a lot of anxiety for the entire month leading up to this show? Because in my head, I tried to envision all the things that could go wrong that might be out of my reach that perhaps I could troubleshoot beforehand. The fire alarm going off 10 minutes before the event was not one of the things that I thought of. Stupid me. So when I drove myself crazy trying to think of all the ways that my show could get fucked up, I didn't think hard enough. The fire alarm went off. See, the skate park is connected to a building right next door that is a residential building that I believe has a rooftop bar available to the public. It turns out somebody either in the building next door or the rooftop bar or something set off a fire alarm. So it wasn't even somebody in the party. It wasn't anyone from Radio Face. It wasn't anybody from none of my friends. Nobody in the skate park set off this fire alarm. It was the building next door that they were connected to, but it didn't matter. That fire alarm started blaring. The guy in charge, Mike, my point of contact from Radio Face, he was trying to get a contact or get a hold of somebody like on the phone to try to figure this out. I was thinking, all right, this is a terrible start, but we'll figure it out. A couple of minutes, we'll be a little bit late. No big deal. Right? This alarm, bap, 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 bap. That alarm kept going non-stop for an hour and a half. Probably longer. The people that were in the venue waiting for the event to start, they left it. I left the venue. I was getting a headache. Bop, bop, bop. That noise haunts my dreams to this day. To this day. To this day. Haunts my dreams. My friends, hell, people I didn't know were arriving to the venue thinking they were showing up, you know, in the middle of the first DJ set. And they don't hear music. What they hear is bop, bop, bop. They're confused as fuck. And this is some underground guerrilla style party. So there's no like fucking manager out there looking all official saying, well, you know, we have it under control. No, none of that. In fact, it's kind of up to me to tell people like, they're trying to figure it out. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Eventually, all of my friends, I had about 15, maybe even 20 people that showed up between 11 to midnight. They're ready. They walked a block down to a bar nearby. And eventually, I joined them because I needed a goddamn drink and I was getting a headache and there was nothing I could do about it. The guy in charge, the guy from Radio Face that was running the event, he was trying to figure it out and they couldn't get a hold of anybody to figure it out. There was something about trying to call somebody that maybe would come through, blah, blah. It was something that was completely out of my hands. And I wasn't really seeing a fix. The alarm was so loud that when I went down the block to meet my friends at the bar and have a drink and kind of just explain what's going on to everybody, everyone was, you know, supportive. They were like, man, this sucks. This is crazy, blah, blah. All I had to do was just kind of stick my head out the door to see if the alarm was still going on. That's how loud it was, a block down. And it was for over an hour and a half. My friends would be arriving. They'd be like, hey, we're in front of the venue. And I'd be like, go a block down. We're at the bar. That bar got busy because of us. "90 minutes. Still nobody spinning. My event that was supposed to begin at 11, it's now 12:30 and nothing has happened yet. Within this time where this alarm's going off, my DJs, so far, Chris and Tony are with me. Cisco and Vibration were not. Cisco arrives in the middle of this fire alarm or whatever. And I tell him what's up. And he's like, all right, cool, whatever. Like I said, the Terminator just comes in ready to spin whenever. But he saw that. He's like, all right, we'll just wait it out. I believe he came with me to the bar. Vibration shows up in the middle of this too. And I remember him arriving. And I thought to myself, oh, he's a little drunk. But I really didn't think much of it because everything, the goddamn fire alarm was still blasting. And plus, we're DJs, right? So how many DJs do you know that do it sober? You know, I don't know what that says about the industry, but whatever. I often drink, almost always drink when I spin. So, and I've already said on this very episode that the last 2 events that I threw where I was headlining, I was far from sober. So whatever. Didn't really think much of it. Finally, someone from Radio Face is able to get someone on the phone that tells them that all they have to do is insert a certain code and the fire alarm will stop. And that's exactly what happened. I was a little afraid that the firemen would come and see that there's like this underground party and shut it all down, but that didn't happen. I think the fire trucks drove right by, didn't do anything, and it took somebody getting on the phone and figuring out a code to end it all. But that took over 90 minutes. Basically a nightmare start to the event. A worst case scenario kind of beginning to the event. The only thing that would have been worse is if the sprinklers went off and ruined all the gear. And then there would be no event at all. So the first set kicks off at around, I want to say sometime after 12:30 in the morning. Over an hour and a half after it was supposed to begin. My friends start trickling in to the venue because, remember, they're all drinking at the bar, so they have to finish their drinks, they have to close their tabs. They start trickling in. I tell my boy Chris, who's starting it off, he's spinning to like just a handful of people now, because who the hell's going to stick around after 90 minutes of a fire alarm? I think some of his friends left too, and I don't blame him. So he started spinning to like a handful of people, and I told him, don't worry, I literally have about 20 friends in the bar right now that are all going to close their tabs and trickle in. So there's going to at least be 20 of us and, you know, a handful of other people. And that's exactly what happened. My friends started trickling in a little bit after that. Chris does his hour, does the best he can, kills it. But, you know, it was a rough start, man. I don't feel like anyone's in a huge partying mood after being forced to listen to a fire alarm for 90 minutes. Imagine waiting for a concert. Imagine waiting for like The Weeknd or Beyonce or Lady Gaga. And they're supposed to go on at 9 p.m., but they don't go on until 10:30 because for the prior 90 minutes, all you heard was map, map, map. I don't care how good they are. It's going to be tough to get into that, at least for the beginning. That's kind of what happened. Then Tony goes up for his hour, and he does fine. He does great, too. More hip-hop style. I remember my friends were loving it. It was cool. But I remember halfway through, I'm looking around, and I can't find Vibration anywhere. And Vibration is scheduled to go up next. Everyone's already delayed, already late in their set times. So I start texting Vibration. I'm like, yo, you're coming up in like a half hour. Like, you good? You around? I get nothing. 20 minutes left. Reaching out. I get nothing. 10 minutes left. Reaching out. Nothing. Call them. Nothing. I go to Cisco. And I'm like, yo, there's a chance that you might have to go on next. Because I can't get a hold of Vibration. And like the professional Terminator that he was there, ready. He's like, yeah, no problem, whatever you need. Just reliable ass dude. Couldn't promote the event, but day of, reliable ass dude. Reliable ass dude, day of. Prior, couldn't promote it, that sucks. But showed up early, completely sober, ready to go, no problem. About 5 minutes left till the set, Vibration hits me up, says on the way. Returns to the venue, even more drunk than before, borderline wasted. With minutes to go to his set, he starts trying to set up and realizes that he's having an issue. There's some cable he doesn't have or something or whatever, and ends up asking if he can use my equipment. And I say, yes, of course, sure. But also, very difficult to do this with like minutes to spare. This is why I had been hitting him up halfway through the set to try to like do this with time. So Tony has to spin for a little bit longer because now Vivation's not ready. And him and the audio guy from Radio Face, Turl Made, or Latif Turl, are trying to get him set up with my gear. Or like to use my gear instead of, because he can't use his. All stuff that would have gone a lot smoother if he was there a little bit longer than with just 5 minutes to spin. He gets on, he starts his set, and something happened in the process. I don't know what, but suddenly the music isn't hitting the same. And I realized there's no bass at all. Early on in Vivation's set, the subwoofer blows. It just blows out. In the middle of Vivation's set, the subwoofer blows the fuck out. And if you guys don't know, bass is perhaps the most important aspect of music. It's what makes people want to move around. Without bass, without that low end, you get no groove, man. It's just elevator music at that point, basically. Now, I'm not blaming Vivation for this. Was part of me wanted to, because I was like, he showed up late and drunk, and that's when the subwoofer goes out. Like, what happened? But I was like, nah, just not going to blame him for this. He's just a DJ spinning and his equipment malfunctions on him. That's like your worst nightmare as a DJ, right? What was I saying before? I'm terrified of things going wrong out of my control. Fire alarm going off, out of my control. The subwoofer going off or blowing up that was provided to me by Radio Face that they rent out on a monthly basis, out of my control. Perhaps if I had the luxury of bringing in my own gear, my own subwoofer, or having backups of everything, that would be great. But, we're just putting this together guerrilla warfare style, man. This is underground. We got backups. So now suddenly there's no bass. Neither me nor the co-headliner has started their set yet. It's already like 2 a.m. We were only supposed to go on till 3. And now there's no bass for anyone for the rest of the night. I remember at one point I just kind of looked to the guy that was my point of contact in Radio Face and to see if he had anything to say about it. And he was in the corner doing whippets. Love the dude, but not exactly any help at this moment, So, I kind of realized, all right, another problem out of my hands that I just have no control over, man. Vivation finishes up his set. Cisco goes up. Finally, no issues. He doesn't get up there till probably 3:30, maybe. I don't know. 3:30 in the morning. Because here's the thing. Radio Face was telling me, even though we started late, all your DJs will get to go, and we'll just push back the after party. That's what they said. So even though we're supposed to end at 3, we just kept going. Cisco does his best, man. But an hour-long set with no bass, that's a killer, man. Really, no one was into it. Not his fault at all. Then it's my turn. I was originally supposed to go on at 2 a.m. and end at 3 a.m. My friends were all down. But I don't end up spinning until 4:30 in the morning, probably, a little bit after. By that time, all my friends were gone. I love them. Don't blame them. They were down to see me spin at 2 a.m. till 3 a.m. That's late for them. Usually I go on at 11 or midnight. They were down. They paid and traveled to Bushwick to see me spin at 2 a.m. They were down. But asking them to stick around to see me start at 4:30 in the morning, meaning I wouldn't finish till 5:30 in the morning, it's just asking too much. Maybe if we were all still 21. But we're in our 30s, man. Can't do it like that no more. I don't blame them for not sticking around. I love that they even came out to support. But all my friends left. It was just my girl, and I think maybe my other friend. I think maybe, what do we call her? Not Prada. Fendi. No, what do we call her? Fendi, Prada. Is it? I forgot the code name for my B Squad friend. Anyways, Chanel. There we go. Jesus Christ. I think Chanel was there for like the beginning of it, but left in the middle of it. And, you know, God bless her for even trying. It was my girl in the crowd with, by that point, a lot of people showed up for the after hours that was supposed to start at 3. So I was DJing to my girl and a bunch of strangers. All my friends that were there to spin, Tony left, Chris left, Vivation pieced out the moment he finished, and Cisco pieced out the moment he finished. I don't blame them. It was me, my girl, and a bunch of strangers. And I was spinning with no bass. I turned the low end like up on all the way on my DJ controller. I did my best, but I had the crowd dancing. They were having a good time, but I admittedly was not having a good time. I don't know if I had ever been more upset while spinning. Because I've mentioned in the past, I feel most like alive when I spin. When I'm in the zone and I feel like I'm doing a great job and that people are enjoying it, like I feel like I feel like that's the version of me I enjoy the most, is when I'm in command behind the decks. And I wasn't that on VibeFest 2. I was so beaten down by the fire alarm, by the bass going out, by the delays. I was just, the lack of help and support. I was just beaten down that I just wanted to get my set over with and hand over the reins to Radio Face. And the DJ that was supposed to take over after me started experiencing issues hooking up his gear. He was drinking at the time. He had been doing whippets all night long too, and he was struggling to hook up his gear. And asked if I could just keep going. And I was like, yeah, sure. And then he came back and was like, can you go longer? And I said, yeah, sure. I got you. And I played on for longer, and he came back and he said, you got some more in you? And I was like, yeah, I got you. I ended up spinning for an entire extra hour. So, or at least, I believe it was like an extra half hour to 45 minutes. I was there past 5:30, closer to 6 o'clock. I'm pretty sure I didn't get off that. I didn't stop spinning till close to 6. And after all that, the DJ for After Hours asked if he could use my gear because he couldn't figure out how to set up his. And I was like, dude, I was supposed to be here till 3. It's 6. I gotta go. I'm done, dude. And he was like, well, what if you just left your gear with me and I'll take care of it? And I was like, absolutely not. My laptop, that's like $6,000. My DJ controller, it's like $1,000. All those cables, a couple of hundred. I am not leaving $8,000 worth of gear behind with someone I just met that couldn't figure out how to hook his up because he's been doing whippets all night long. There's not a single person in this entire venue that I trust enough to leave my gear with. So I'm sorry, brother. Good night and good luck. And to his credit, he understood. He got it. He got it. So they I don't know what they did for the rest of the event. They figured something out. And me and my girl left. And we got home probably around 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. After an event that was supposed to end for me at 3. That cab ride home, it was short. It's like 10, 15 minutes, if that. And I remember just my girl just not knowing really what to say. Because she knew. There was no doubt about it. It wasn't a good night. Far from it. And the fact that I failed, the fact that the event was a failure was so painfully obvious that there was no silver lining, no half glass full motivational speech to be had at this moment. It was just shit. That just happened. And so I felt like a complete failure. It was quite honestly the most epic and public of failures that I've had in my attempted professional career. All of my friends were there to see it blow up in my face. DJs that put their trust in me were there to see it blow up in my face. I was heartbroken, man. And I knew that there was only one way that I could take this. I knew that there was only one way I could go through this and have that moment not break me. And it all came back to me watching a silly little wrestling DVD years and years prior. And it was that DVD, The Rise and Fall of ECW. And on that cab ride home, the only thing I could think about knowing that I just experienced the most colossal, catastrophic failure that I have gone through. Instead of thinking of all the things that went wrong, there was one thing going through my mind at that moment. And it was what Paul Heyman said at the end of that documentary. I once wrote that down. I wrote that quote down in a book once, like my own personal journal or something. I wrote that down once, still at home somewhere. And I've written it down in my notes in my phone so I could always look back at it every now and then to remind myself. And I wrote it down before I started recording. Because it's the words that were ringing in that cab ride. You cannot achieve success without the risk of failure. And I learned a long time ago, you cannot achieve success if you fear failure. If you're not afraid to fail, man, you have a chance to succeed. But you're never going to get there unless you risk it all the way. I'll risk failure. Sometimes half the fun is failing. Learning from your mistakes, waking up the next morning and saying, okay, watch out. Here I come again. A little bit smarter, licking my wounds, and really not looking forward to getting my ass kicked the way I just did yesterday. So now, I'm just a little more dangerous. It's a VibeFest 2 is the biggest failure of my professional life. And I'm glad it happened. I'm glad I did it. Because I learned something. No, I didn't learn how to prevent a fire alarm from going off. And no, I never learned how to troubleshoot subwoofers blowing out on you. I learned something about myself. I went through something that honestly I had been fearing ever since I decided I wanted to DJ. I experienced something that I had feared. And I realized that even though I was afraid of it, once it happened, it didn't scare me away. See, it's okay to be afraid of something. It's not okay to let that fear control you. Everyone has a fear of failure. You shouldn't be afraid to fail. You should be afraid of not trying again. So you know what that means. It's a VibeFest 3. It's coming your way. That's it for me, guys. Thanks for listening to me recounting my most epic and public of failures. I'm putting it all out there. It's on. I'm just wearing my heart on my sleeve for you guys. Hope you appreciate that. If you do, be sure to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts. Follow me at I'm Will Bryant on all platforms. That's Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, even Spotify. That's 3 words at I'm Will Bryant, Bryant, like Kobe. This has been Big Kid with Will Bryant. I'm your host, I'm Will Bryant. Until next time, peace. Ah.